So good afternoon, everyone. My name is Dr. Ron Bouffard. Today, I'll be giving a presentation on holiday abundance, eating and drinking for a healthier holiday season. So I am one of the functional medicine providers here at Aligned Modern Health. It just happens to be one of the four spokes of the wheel of our integrative medicine team at Aligned. Integrative medicine kind of is sort of a new ideology. The idea really is preventive and root cause sort of applications. Here we have chiropractic physical medicine, where we can get sort of adjustments as well as some rehabilitation for soft tissue injuries, disc disorders, etc. Here also, we offer massage therapy, specifically, again, for sprains and sprains, pregnancy pain, fibromyalgia, sports injuries. Acupuncture is another spoke of the wheel where we actually can deal a lot on the meridians of pain, tension, anxiety, fertility, sleep issues. They offer Chinese herbal medicine, as well as something called moxibustion and cupping, all these sort of Eastern applications. And then lastly, there's us, the physical medicine, or the functional medicine department in clinical nutrition, where we really work at your biochemistry and really understanding your needs nutrient-wise, and then how to get them in a dietary setting. So the nice thing about this particular concept in the clinic is that if there are multiple angles that need to be taken, we can address them all under one roof. Again, my name is Dr. Ron Bouffard. I am the functional medicine provider telemedicine-wise, as well as at Logan Square, Wicker Park, and River North. I also wear a couple of other hats. I am the Director of Membership for the American Chiropractic Association's Council on Nutrition. I am diplomated, which means I have a certification in nutrition, as well as a certification as a chiropractic internist, which is the functional medicine arm of chiropractic. I did graduate from Palmer College back in the 90s, and I graduated from Boston University back in the 80s. So today our goals are really going to be sort of setting you up for success during this holiday season. You know, holidays are a time for celebration. We tend to center it around a lot of food, and some people who might actually have some issues or problems with certain foods find this a challenging time. Oh, I should point out to you folks, by the way, we do have a question and answer session that will happen after. If you are interested in asking a question, please scroll down into the menu bar where it says Q&A, where you can ask your questions. Do not ask in the chat because it's a little distracting, and you'll be asked to just put it in the Q&A section as well. The second part of this presentation will be holiday abundance and thereafter. So really trying to understand how we can enjoy ourselves without really throwing off our health goals. We'll talk about healthy recipes and some ingredient swaps that'll make those particular recipes that we're used to a little more healthy for us. And then we'll certainly address alcohol, which is always a concern of some people's when it comes to the celebrations. So setting you up for success, we're really trying to establish like what are the best nutrients just to keep you well, period. So vitamin D is such a major vitamin. It's only produced by exposure to the sun. We do have some in some foods. Ironically, vitamin D is not a vitamin, but a hormone. Regardless of that fact, we live in Chicago, we don't get a lot of sun, so most of us do need to supplement with vitamin D in the winter. Although because vitamin D is a fat-soluble vitamin, you should always get it tested, because fat-soluble vitamins do not, they can accumulate in your system and can become toxic at high levels. And then there are certain supplements that are better than other forms. D3 happens to be a better form than D2. I definitely recommend sometimes some alternatives or some adjuncts to go along with the vitamin D for better absorption. Everybody is different, so I don't really want to suggest out there that there's just a plain old generic vitamin D that you should take, because vitamin D is definitely specific. Why is it so important? It does reduce inflammation. It is great for sort of the inflammatory elements of the immune system. It can help to control blood pressure. Of course, we all know it helps to build healthy bones along with calcium. It does actually increase our mood. And of course, sun exposure increases our mood as well. So it kind of goes hand in hand. It can help us to relieve the pains of muscle aches in that fibromyalgia sense. And there are some research studies about helping to prevent cancers as well as depression. Some of the food sources where you get vitamin D are all the fatty fish, salmon, mackerel, sardines, whole eggs, because the vitamin D really comes from yolk. And then, of course, you can do a cod liver oil, which was an old standard a long time ago. But of course, you have to be able to palate the drinking of cod liver oil. As far as helping to just kind of boost your immunity, several things that I kind of think are really important. One thing I stress with everybody who I work with is to stay hydrated. Fresh water, broths, and herbal teas are great options. Caffeinated beverages, not so much, because they actually dehydrate you, as will alcohol. So when we are talking about drinking fluids to hydrate, we want to kind of stick to those things which have the least amount of influence on dehydration. In general, the mathematical equation is usually half your body weight in ounces is a pretty good average. I usually recommend anywhere between 80 to 100 ounces. Here in Chicago, what I've noticed with most people is that your electrolytes, seems like we don't have enough sodium in our water, and almost everybody I test has low sodium. So I also recommend potentially adding electrolytes to the water to help to hydrate at the cellular level. Immune boosting foods, plenty of things that we can actually get through our diets that we're going to have over the holidays. Turmeric, of course, any curry that you eat is going to have turmeric in it. I add turmeric to a lot of the foods that I make, simply because it's a good way of, again, sort of giving a nice little kick, nice little color, and at the same time giving you a little bit of immune boost. Tart cherries are really great immune-wise from the antioxidant standpoint, as well as they're really great for decreasing uric acid in your body if you're one of those persons who tends to have an accumulation of this particularly inflammatory element. Walnuts, because of their omega-3, they are anti-inflammatory. If you can tolerate walnuts, if you're not sensitive to them, definitely good to add to a topping, to give you a little bit of crunch, whether it be added to your green beans or even to a sweet potato casserole of some sort. And of course, into any of the pies, cherries with walnuts would be awesome. Green veggies, of course, are just the antioxidants. Many of the green veggies, the leafies, are definitely more of the fiber that was really good just to help with our digestion. And lastly, garlic, which most people may or may not know, is really a good anti-microbial. Use it for, if you are feeling a little under the weather, you can use garlic and it can help kind of keep your immune system on target. The key nutrients for immune system health really are vitamin C. Is a water-soluble vitamin, easy to take. Your body does not allow it to accumulate. At the minimum, I would tell you 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C on a daily basis isn't a bad thing. I'm one of those persons who thinks 3,000 milligrams a day in divided doses is helpful. I like the form that is liposomal because it adds a little bit more absorption through the layers of your mucosal linings, and at the same time will not give you sort of the loose stool that high levels of vitamin C can give you. Vitamin E, on the other hand, is a fat-soluble vitamin. You have to be careful with the amount that you take. Again, one of those things that possibly should be measured before you actually decide you're going to boost. Beta carotene, of course, is the precursor to vitamin A. We use it a lot in a lot of the orange vegetables that we eat. Really great forms to get them from, like pumpkins, squashes, sweet potatoes, etc. Selenium and zinc both good for both the immune system and the thyroid. Can be found in most shellfish, can be found in meats, can be found in nuts. Again, trying to keep these particular nutrients high in your diet will help keep your immune system just a little more stable. Keeping in mind, simple sugars actually can suppress your immune system activity, certainly after a holiday meal. The unfortunate thing when we talk about simple sugars, we're also talking about alcohol. And so when we really are trying to put it all together, the lower the sugar, the less problem we're going to have with immune system modulation. This healthy holiday tip is to enjoy a small portion of your favorite holiday dessert by keeping a baggie of fresh vegetable or fruit along with some chocolates as a dessert alternative, potentially. The other thing I like to tell people is that, one bite for the taste, the second bite is for your passion, and then the third bite should just be on your plate. It gives you the opportunity to indulge without going too far over into the zone that we don't want to go, especially when we're eating a large meal. So other things that we can try to do to kind of help set up for success is to try to eat like a pro. And so in the sense of a pro, we're really talking about trying to keep an ordinary everyday routine. Stick to your regular eating schedule. Don't skip your breakfast just because you're going to have a big old lunch. Your body doesn't like that, for one thing. You really want to start your metabolism first thing in the morning. And if you don't eat within 30 minutes to an hour upon waking, your body kind of goes into this reserve mode. So the process of you eating a very large amount of calories at, say, lunch or mid-afternoon, when you haven't had anything, your body only takes in so much, and then the rest of it says, we're going to save this for fat for a rainy day. So try not to do that. I usually recommend, having a breakfast, depending on how late in the day you're going to have the holiday meal, may even consider having sort of a snack. About every 3 to 4 hours, you should be eating something. So if you're holding out, you wake up at 9 o'clock and you're not eating till 5, you probably should have at least 1 or 2 small meals just to kind of make sure that your blood sugar is regulated, and you'll keep the cravings at a minimum. Definitely try to include protein with every meal, simply because carbs are really broken down to be sugar. Sugar is what causes this spike in our system, which also, when it drops, it will cause us to have that fatigue. So after you're done the meal, everybody wants to go lay down and fall asleep. When you're eating protein, it takes a little bit longer for your body to break it down. So you won't have that acceleration of sugar go into your bloodstream. You won't have that crash at the end that won't make it feel like you really want to go and take a nap. Also, because protein is just a denser macromolecule for your body to break down, it sustains you for a lot longer. So then you're not going to overeat, unlike you get with these carb influences where they kind of go up and down. Some of the healthy snacks, nitrate-free jerkies. There's several brands on the market that you can get that are just really good, simple, not too much, just enough of a protein to just kind of tide you over. Sprouted pumpkin seeds, even with some omegas for good healthy fat, and the pumpkin seed has a good amount of fiber, so it will help keep you full. Same holds true for these raw nuts. Keep in mind that when you roast the nuts, you actually create a little bit of an omega-6 element, which is inflammatory, so we would prefer them to not be roasted, because raw nuts are actually just better in the omega-3 realm. And then minimally processed bars like RX bars, Hemp Heart, Epic bars. These definitely all will help to just kind of keep your blood sugar more stable, give you an opportunity to not feel like you're so famished at the point of the time of eating the holiday meal. The one thing you just don't want to do is dive right in and then end up overeating to the point where you just feel uncomfortable. And of course, as always, stay hydrated. So keeping in mind that 80 to 100 ounces a day, just try to keep track of what you are drinking and when, to make sure that your hydration level stays at a maximum. The more hydrated you are, the more full your body will feel, the less you'll overindulge. So some of the things that we like to consider for options to really help with how the body really uses everything is these really simple strategies. For instance, bitters. So you can get bitters anywhere. If you do anything that is on the bitter side, you actually stimulate the digestive process, start the digestion occurring. So if you do this before the meal, it'll be easier for your holiday meal to be broken down. simple. These bitters come in the forms of dandelion greens that you can put in a nice salad. This is not the time of year to find dandelion greens, so there are dandelion alternatives in the supplemental form, as well as there's some coffees out there that actually are dandelion based. Green olives, again, really great with the digestion, has this sort of bitter in it that will allow for the body's continuance of breaking down the gastric I'm sorry, I'm getting all a little flabbergasted, but the gastric acid secretions in your stomach end up being stimulated more so that you'll actually get better resolution instead of this big bloaty stomach. Sesame seeds, of course, same thing. Radishes are awesome. Radishes also have this propensity, again, to soothe and stimulate. And then the raw veggies themselves are, of course, antioxidants as well as fiber. Now, ginger aids in soothing the stomach upsets. We all probably remember in the day when we were sick and you were given ginger ale as a way to like settle your stomach if you had nausea or vomiting. It does truly, in fact, do that. If you've ever been to Indian restaurants, they like to give ginger at the end because it's good for the digestion to help soothe how the stomach might be upset from a lot of the spices. It does trigger the release of these digestive enzymes. It does increase muscle contractions to help food move from the stomach into the intestines. So if you really are feeling sort of bloaty and upset stomach, ginger, and you can do it in the form of ginger beer, crystallized ginger. Sometimes I add ginger into like my carrots or into my pumpkin pie so that we have that extra added bonus of having ginger, which will just help to increase the digestion. I know this is the third time I've mentioned water, so you can tell it's pretty important. Water just helps to detoxify. If you have enough water in your system, it will help to move waste products out. Just remember that when you do drink alcohol, it tends to dehydrate you. My rule of thumb is 1 spirit and then 1 glass of water, and then you can go ahead and have another spirit. It will kind of help in sort of tempering or sort of giving yourself a cadence of what you're going to drink. At the same time, it just allows your body to kind of help to detox, the difficulty that you're going to have with the alcohol itself. And then just exercise, because exercise and motion just really helps to keep the bowels moving better. So if you get out after the big meal, go out for a nice walk. The suggestion here is, if you live in a neighborhood where people really do up the holiday lights, you can go out, take a walk through the neighborhood and check them out. My family, we used to play catch or tag football. So, just getting out after the meal to help just kind of get motion to happen, it will help make it so that you don't feel so full. And then the other option, of course, is just if it's cold outside, turn on some music on the inside and then have a big old dance party. Nothing wrong with just getting out and trying to do the best you can and getting some movement to happen. Aquafaba. So I love aquafaba. The first time I read about aquafaba was in this particular lecture that I gave. Aquafaba is this vegan way of introducing sort of the same thing you would use egg whites for. The cooking liquid of the beans is what aquafaba is. And when we use it for a meringue, we just add some sugar and vanilla, and then you beat it up like you would a typical egg white, and you can use a meringue. It's a really healthy protein, really healthy for you. You can add it to the tops of pies, and you can even use it to make meringue cookies if you wanted to. Furthermore, you can use the aquafaba in place of eggs in a recipe. So if you have any vegans or vegetarians and you want to make some sort of treat for them, this would be one of the ways to do it without really losing any of the wonderful texture that you get from egg whites. And it's a great source of protein. Avocados. This is one of these healthy swaps that I particularly love for many reasons. It's high in a ton of vitamins, as you can see here. A, B1, B2, B3, all the Bs for the most part. Vitamin C, vitamin E, and vitamin K, as well as a ton of micronutrients like potassium and zinc and magnesium, etc. Low in saturated fat, 0 cholesterol or sodium. I use it in place of, I use it in place of butter in a lot of things. So, and you can, as you can see, substitute 1 whole avocado for 2 sticks of butter, or you can use it as like a creamy sauce. In this case, this particular recipe that Dr. Mykert here has generously given us really is this avocado pesto pasta. So you're not using any mayonnaise for any of those vegans again. You're using this avocado as a cream base. I use it. I do definitely use it on a lot of pasta creamy dishes for sure. It's wonderful. And by the way, you will get a copy of this slideshow presentation. So you will get a copy of this recipe at the end when it gets sent out to you via your email. Bananas as a good swap into your healthy recipes. So bananas are a good source of potassium and magnesium. Most people probably already know that, but also rich in fiber and resistant starch, which means that it doesn't really get absorbed into the bloodstream the same way that plain old blood sugar does. It can help to actually lower blood sugar after heavy meals because of the way, again, the minerals work together. Mashed banana can replace butter or eggs to help lower the recipe's cholesterol and sodium. There are several ways of really using bananas as a base for a lot of things for people who have sensitivities. There's this great pancake recipe that I know with bananas and eggs and I believe almond flour that you can use. So if you're one of those persons who likes pancakes but doesn't particularly like to have all the extra fat, this is a good way to do it. Cauliflower. So I use cauliflower for everything. I have become so enamored with this particular vegetable. I buy it almost all the time. Cauliflower, very low in calories, but high in vitamins, minerals, fiber, choline, and sulforaphane. So choline, really good for brain building. Sulforaphane, really good for liver detoxification. Because it's also low in calories, but high in vitamins, it's a great substitute. I know people have used cauliflower mashed up to pretend they're potatoes. They don't really taste like potatoes, I will say, but they definitely are a better option if you have an issue with blood sugar or you want to restrict the amount of calories that you're taking. I use cauliflower rice a lot versus plain old rice. Rice is really high on the glycemic index, so it spikes your blood sugar. Cauliflower rice won't do that at all. So when we're really looking at cauliflower, it's a really good healthy alternative, great fiber, again, great minerals, helps to decrease heart disease, liver disease, cancer, diabetes, dementia, and Alzheimer's because of that choline. And as I've already said, I like to roast the cauliflower a lot just as a side, but I have mashed it before and then I'm now using it riced for any of my rice dishes. Chia seeds, what a tremendous, this is like the superfood. It's really a very nutritious seed because it's loaded with fiber, protein, omega-3 fats, which again are anti-inflammatory, and then a ton of micronutrients. Just a little bit goes a long way. You can use this, I use it in my smoothies every morning. It helps to kind of bring a little bit of thickening to my smoothie, but you can also use it in substitute for eggs simply by doing this particular little step here, which is a tablespoon of freshly ground chia seeds with 3 tablespoons of water, whisk it up, put it in the refrigerator for 15 minutes. It'll have a sort of gelatiny kind of feel for it, and definitely will be a good swap out for any of your egg recipes or anything that you are baking eggs with so that you can actually get that same binding that you're really looking for. I do want to make sure that we understand that eggs are nutritionally very dense and can be consumed safely. The white being the majority of the protein, and then the yolk is really dense with most of the good, healthy fats that we actually want. Some people, unfortunately, like myself, are sensitive to eggs and just can't eat them. Another really great ingredient swap is yogurt. I personally trend towards, when I want to do yogurt, I trend on using organic and grass-fed Greek style yogurt. Greek means that it's actually going to be, the whey is strained out, so we don't have a lot this inflammatory protein that sometimes people are kind of affected by. there's a great amount of good, healthy bacteria, because as you all know, when we get on antibiotics, they say, oh, just have some yogurt so that you'll recolonize some of the good bacteria. Of course, it's a good source of protein, calcium, iodine, potassium, all from this dairy element. Some people, unfortunately, are sensitive to dairy and just can't use this at all, but it is a good swap I use it in place of sour cream or cream, mayonnaise, as it says here. If I'm going to use it in a recipe that calls for either milk or cream, I'll thin it out a little bit with a little bit of water, so it will have that consistency versus using it as it is in place of mayo or sour cream in a recipe. And lastly, the note about alcohol. So we all know that celebrations are, as we get together with family, alcohol is certainly part of what we're going to experience. So for some people, that leads to like, what do I do if I have, an issue with either sugar or if I have an issue with yeast, candida? This is a good rundown of kind of from top to bottom, what is the better or best source that's going to be less inflammatory, less sort of dirty is what I call them, in terms of, a lot of bacteria or yeast, and going to have the least amount of effect sort of on your overall health. It's usually the white liquors because they're distilled and filtered for the most part. So vodka, gin, tequila, those are the three I usually recommend to people. So the sugar process is a little lower. And again, it's been distilled and filtered, so there's no bacteria to cause bloat, and there's nothing to kind of aggravate if you are a person who has, the propensity to having yeast and candida. You'll notice at the bottom is beer and red wine, colored spirits, liqueurs, etc. The dry ciders, dry champagnes are sort of in the middle. What I will say about beer and wine is what I tell all my patients is wine is really just a barrel full of grapes that are rotting in a barrel. So there's tons of bacteria and there's tons of yeast that are fermenting that are causing this reaction for the alcohol. And so it's not very clean. And if you have a yeast problem, unfortunately, it's just going to make it worse. So if you do bloat, red wine is usually not the best. Dry white wine, is a little higher up because less mold toxins, but it's still fermented the same way, just as is beer, which is fermenting hops. So same idea. It does have gluten and yeast in them, so they're pretty dirty when it comes to, how you're, if you are affected by candida or excess sugar, these are probably the hardest things. When you are going to use either vodka, gin, or tequila, my recommendation is make sure that you don't add it to, fruit juices, because now we have extra sugars again. In the case of, what to mix it with, usually waters, sparkling water, soda water, or tonic can be a good alternative, just so that you'll not have that extra carbohydrate and that extra sugar, because these are sugar. They will convert to sugar in your body as well. So, and keep in mind, like I said earlier, that if you're going to imbibe, consider the idea of having one alcoholic drink and then follow it with a good 12 ounces of water before you add another. You can see you can see this whole thing. I don't have to read it all to you. That again, vodka, it's filtered by charcoal. Gin is juniper berries, have plenty of antioxidants, which is really great. And again, we're really reducing the amount of the impact of sugar and making sure that we don't have any addition to the bacteria. And that's the end of this seminar, really. What I do want to remind you is that we are a full service clinic. We do take all of these insurances that are on this page here. So if you are curious about what we could do for you, if you have something specific that you're interested in learning about, please schedule a 15-minute consultation, which is free, by calling this number or visiting us at alignmodernhealth.com. You can ask to speak to anyone and then see if we can get information to you about how we can help you with your conditions. Again, my name is Dr. Ron Bouffard. There's a couple of questions in the Q&A I'm going to look at. If you have any questions at this time, certainly bring them to my attention. Oh, I actually don't have any questions. Thank you, Doug, for the great job. Anybody else have any questions at all? If not, I'm going to thank you again for attending our webinar today. please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions, comments, or concerns. Enjoy your holidays. Know that holidays are meant to be enjoyed, so you don't have to be as strict as you should be, or what you might want to think. I really prefer that on a day like the holidays, you can kind of bend the rules a little bit because you should be enjoying yourself. Know, however, what your limitations are and make sure that you aren't going to do yourself a disservice by throwing whatever it is that you're working towards, completely under. We are here for you as needed. And so somebody did ask about Kind bars. So again, my concern with Kind bars is there's an awful lot of sugar. You need to look at the back of the label. There are some Kind bars, by the way, that are better than others. So the ones that are more protein based with the nuts usually have less of the toppings and the sugars that are added. Just look at what the carbohydrate load is. And if it's anywhere between 15 and 20, you really just kind of want to avoid it. And then I have somebody here who asked about lectins. So that's really specific. Not everybody has a lectin scenario. There's a couple of people probably who have read some information about lectins. Lectins can be very inflammatory. So those of you who are like, what the heck is a lectin? So lectins are the skins, or the very undigestible skins of things like tomatoes and peppers and beans that some people just can't handle. There is a sensitivity to lectins that you need to be aware of. But again, some people don't have a problem with it. This is not the same as sort of having a, having to have a, like Beano for digesting beans. That's not what we're talking about here. We're literally talking about this particular product that causes some breakdown of the intestinal lining because there are certain foods that have this lectin, and if you have a sensitivity towards it, it will cause that breakdown. If you're not sure, we can certainly talk with you and find out whether or not you have a lectin sensitivity. But one of the best ways really is determining if you're eating these foods I just mentioned and you're having problems with that. If it is creating inflammation, then clearly you want to make sure that you avoid them. It can be tested though, so we can do that. All you need to do is reach out to us and see if we can figure out that for you. And there doesn't appear to be any more questions. Again, my name is Dr. Ron Bouffard. I appreciate your time. Wishing you all happy holidays, however you are doing them. Have a great day. Bye.